Welcome back to BRB Homestead, where we bake, raise, and build on our one-acre homestead. For those who don't know me, I'm Joseph. I live out here in Northwest Ohio with my wife and our 2 kids, and we're building a homestead on just 1 acre. It's not a big farm, it's not a lot of land, but it is ours, and we're learning just how much you can really do with a small space if you're willing to put the time into it. When we first started, we didn't really know what we were doing. We just knew we wanted something different, something a little slower, a little more intentional than the normal day-to-day. So we started small. A few chickens in the yard, a garden that honestly didn't do great at first, and a couple fruit trees that we're still learning how to take care of. Every season, we figure out something new. Some things work, some things don't, but that's kind of the whole point. Inside the house, it's the same idea. We're trying to make more of our own food. Fresh bread, sourdough meals from scratch, not because we have to, but because it just feels better knowing where it came from and how it was made. This isn't about being perfect, and it's definitely not about having everything figured out. Most days it's just trial and error, learning as we go and trying to improve a little bit at a time. And with 2 kids, it's not always quiet or organized. It's messy, it's busy, but they're right there in the middle of us, learning alongside with us, and that's a big part of why we're doing this. The goal isn't to be completely self-sufficient or off-grid. It's just to be more connected to our food, to our time, and to the life we're building together. I think a lot of people believe you need a ton of land or the perfect setup to start something like this, but you really don't. We're doing it on 1 acre, and honestly, that's more than enough to start building something meaningful. One thing we're really focusing on is making everything work together. So we use our chicken tractors and move them right through our fruit trees. As they move, the chickens scratch up the soil, eat bugs, and leave behind fertilizer. That manure really helps in the spring when the trees are just waking up, and it promotes strong root growth. And because we're only working with 1 acre, last year on the homestead was really just another learning year for us. When we first got started, we were excited and probably a little too eager to see everything take off all at once. So we planted everything all at once. Just filled all the raised beds, packed the garden in completely, and tried to get everything going right from the start. And while that energy felt good in the moment, we quickly learned it wasn't the best approach for our space or our timing. Some things worked out okay, but a lot of it ended up being lessons for the future. Our lettuce, for example, bolted really fast. It warmed up quicker than expected, and instead of getting a long harvest, it turned bitter and went to seed almost overnight. We just didn't have the timing right, and it basically came and went before we could really enjoy it. Another big issue was how we set up the space between the beds. We left grass past thinking it would be simple. Just mow it down, keep it neat, and move on. But it didn't really work out that way. The grass grew faster than we expected, and walking between the beds always felt messy and uneven. It was either overgrown or fresh cut with clippings everywhere, and those clippings would constantly blow right into the garden beds themselves. So instead of having clean, easy walkways, we ended up with something that felt like a constant maintenance just to keep things usable. Even simple things like checking plants, watering, or harvesting took more effort than they should have, just because the layout wasn't working with us. We also realized that planting everything at once created another problem. Everything was ready at the same time. Harvest overlapped, beds got overwhelming, and it felt like we were racing against time instead of working with it. So this year we're changing a few things based on what we learned. Instead of planting everything all at once again, we're spacing our crops out more intentionally. We're staggering planting so everything doesn't mature at the same time, and so we can spread the workload out more evenly through the season. We're also rethinking the paths between the beds completely. This year we're laying down landscape fabric first, and then covering it with river rock. The goal is to create something much more stable and low maintenance. Walkways that don't grow over, don't turn into mud when it rains, and don't require constant mowing just to stay usable. It should also make a big difference in keeping the garden cleaner overall, since we won't be throwing grass clippings and debris into the beds every time we mow the yard. Looking back now, none of it really feels like a failure. It was just part of figuring things out. We learn what works for our space, and more importantly, what doesn't. And honestly, that's kind of the whole point of doing this. You try things, you make mistakes, you adjust, and you slowly build something better each season. So this year isn't about starting over. It's about improving what we already started, one step at a time. Alright, so this is not the same day. It took a lot longer than we thought, but we did get most of it finished. I'm going to kind of show you where we're at. So we got all of the stones laid down. It took a lot more stone than we thought. We initially thought it would be about 25 bags. We ended up putting 35 bags down, and there's still a couple spots that you can see that are still bare, so it might need a little bit more. But overall, it looks really good. You can see that. We did add this. This was actually a fairly inexpensive addition. It's just a little bird bath with a solar fountain on top of it, which is pretty nice. So, turn you around. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and plant what we have so far, and it actually won't take too long, and I'll show you why. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to start working on is the strawberries. We're going to start on them first because for best results, they say it's good to soak the roots in water for about 10 minutes. So let me show you the kind I grow on. So I got this kind here. These are everbearing. So a lot of strawberries, they only will give berries in June. That's why they're called June bearing and then everbearing. So I'm going to try these this year, see if we can get more, since it's supposed to produce more throughout the year. Alright, so I have the strawberries soaking right now. See, so we'll let those soak, and then while they're soaking, I did buy this vertical garden. It's actually been about a year now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and fill this up with dirt and potting soil that I have. I'm going to do that first, and whatever's left we'll add to the garden beds to give them a little bit, because you can see, especially in some of them, they're just a little bit low. So we'll go ahead and add what we have left to that. Alright, so got the planter moved over. It's kind of wobbly, not crazy about it, so I did put a shepherd's hook to try and stabilize it a little bit. We'll give it a try. If not, we might have to invest in some nicer vertical garden. It's just kind of cheap feeling. Granted, it was from Amazon and it was cheap, but we'll see how it does. I'm mostly worried about it tipping over. And then we do have plenty of potting soil, potting mix. So we'll go ahead and I'll add that to the 2 garden beds, plant 2 more crops today, and then we'll be done. Alright, so the last thing I'm going to do, I have some lettuce and carrots I'm going to plant. One thing we started using last year that helped a lot is seed tape. And what it is, let me show you. So it's seed tape. All it is the seeds are put on pieces of paper, and then you just roll it out. And then today we're going to do lettuce and carrots. And what's nice about it, especially with the carrot seeds are super, super tiny. And with the seed tape, you don't have to thin it out. It's already perfectly spaced. You just literally roll it out, cover it up with a little bit of dirt. We're going to water it in, and then that's it. All right, so we are done planting. So let me show you what I did. This bed here, we have 4 rows of lettuce. Each row is about 12 inches apart. And then coming over here, we have carrots. Same thing, they're about 12 inches apart. So we'll go ahead, last thing we have to do is go ahead and get these watered in, because carrots really like a lot of water to be germinated. That's it for this video. I just want to thanks again for watching the video, and don't forget to bake, raise, and build. And this is BRB Homestead.